Welcome traders, I'm Adam Harris, Chief Market Analyst. Let's have a quick look at what's the plan for this coming week. So we currently have a downtrend with euro dollar, that dollar being quite strong, the euro weakening. Obviously Friday's jobs numbers that came out, quite a bit of a shock to the system, plus previous months being downwardly revised as well, or revised downward. Plus of course then the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics apparently getting fired because the numbers weren't good. All of this has kind of upset the market. So the question really this week is going to be, will that US dollar that is now underneath the 50 period, will euro dollar then find resistance here and continue down? In other words, will that downtrend continue? We've got downward momentum. All of this looks more likely statistically, or at least technically, to continue downwards. However, should the market come straight up and break this high, then we've gone from an uptrend to a downtrend back into potentially an uptrend. So definitely something to watch this week is the behavior here. Right now, it's in a really good area to turn around over Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But if it keeps coming up and if it breaks this high over here of 1.18, then we're much more likely going into the coming weeks and possibly months of a weakening dollar. But we have to see how that plays out. Let's have a look at cable. Cable here in a very nice downtrend, beautiful this week, very strong bullish engulfing bar. I'd like to see this pull back up into the moving averages during the week, produce a bearish candle and continue down. Momentum is bearish. And so basically, essentially this week, is this going to be a continuation to the downside? But this is one of my preferred charts for that downtrend. Dollar yen, really big correction here. Let's go back and have a look at this on a weekly perspective. This really has kind of taken a bit of a shock to the system. The yen pair is looking very bullish, but now unable to break above that 148.75 level. I'm just going to put in a line there. It seems as though we're unable to break through that for now. So again, we've had previously a bullish week, last week being very bearish, or at least finishing up with those jobs numbers. Excuse me, the question is going to be, how is this week going to play out? So just please be prepared for possible swings in this. This overall trend to the upside still potentially intact if we've got the moving averages fanning out 50, 20 and 10, and if we produce a bullish candle, we do not break this low, we could see ourselves returning back up to a yen trend to the upside there. Let's have a look at dollar CAD. Dollar CAD obviously having a big run and a nice big correction here. Let's go back up to the daily here, have a look at it, take some of it in context. And again, we've got this uptrend at the moment. I'm looking to see if we are going to test this level of resistance for support. Really where we are in this area over here could provide us with some a swing low, and we could see that trend continue to the upside. So this week is really about watching that dollar to see if it just maintains its ultimate trend of strengthening, which means all of these current trends would remain intact. Alternatively, was Friday the beginning of a big shift back to a weaker dollar. All right, finish off here with dollar Swissy, also back in an uptrend. We had a longer term downtrend, we broke that, we went into an uptrend. Are we going to stay in this uptrend? All right, it's possible that there's just been some wild swings lately. Of course that's possible, but it's unusual for us to go from one trend into another and immediately back into another, but it can happen. Let's have a quick look at the yen pairs. So the reason I wanted to do this was that the yen pairs were looking very good for a weekly correction. So let's go up and I'll show you the case here. We were looking for a weekly retracement. They were very much overdue for it. However, on Thursday last week, to go back to this, on Thursday last week, there was an incredibly big surge to the upside. And we could see that it looked with a bullish engulfing bar as though we were going to resume this uptrend. However, Friday reversed that and pushed it back down. So again, this is what I'm looking for this week, is it's now looking more likely that we'll continue back down on our weekly retracement for the time being. And so expecting, at least for now, those yen pairs that were very overextended on the weekly timeframes to do a little bit more of a retracement before turning around and resuming. That would then apply to Swissy yen as well. Really just looking for that to continue down. All right, and so really looking to see if we do pull back towards, say, the 50 fib level. And when you zoom out, you kind of see this is really where we start to connect with some of the older highs. And this would be going back all the way through to, is that almost a year ago? Good gracious. Okay, so really looking for that to be the case. Aussie yen and Kiwi yen to me are also quite interesting from this perspective. We've got a bit of a nice correction here. We go up to that weekly. We could very well find that these might be amongst the very first to turn bullish. That's really what I'm looking for here. Do we fall through these levels of support? But if we don't, if we turn bullish this week, the 4-hour time frame might be something that is worth watching, going down to that 4 hours, just to see if we start to go from the current trend down. Let's just have a look at this. Down, back into an uptrend, so we'll have to test this level of support and resistance. I'm going to put in a line over here and just mark that level there. Okay, so we'll have to see if that ultimately plays out. It'll be the same. And CAD Yen, of course, here you can see a bit of a correction, much more like that. So really the yen pair is experiencing that big weekly correction. The question then is, are we going to finish a little bit further down, or are we going to turn around this coming week and potentially end up a little bit higher? Taking a quick look at gold. So gold had a very nice strong bounce and currently is looking as though it's very much heading its way back up to these highs at 3434. Back up towards those old highs I expected at this point in time to continue. Let me get rid of that. And so now it's much more range bound, and we'll see if it can manage to push a little bit higher. If we have a look at silver as well, coming back into the previous highs here, especially if we switch this up into a weekly, we could see that it's still within that nice weekly uptrend. It's back into the moving averages here, and this is a really good location for it to ultimately finish with a nice bullish candle. So again, for me, the 4 hour is going to have some potential clues here. We've already actually started to go into a little bit of an uptrend. We're producing a high and a high low and a high high here, but we still need to break this downward sloping trend line. Let me just draw that in and just get past that. So really need to see us break up through that to get that little bit more evidence that it's going to do that. Or whether we're going to continue down. But both gold and silver sitting at key levels, showing some bullishness from Friday. The question is, will we see that follow through? Let's go over to crude oil at the moment. So crude oil for me generally is not worth anyone's attention. It's just not flowing very nicely. It is sliding to the upside, but not offering any very strong trends, and therefore not offering any high probability money-making opportunities. Bitcoin, on the other hand, continuing to look relatively bullish here. So again, trending on a lot higher, looks pretty good. Moving averages fanning out. Let's just go up and have a look at it from a weekly perspective. From a weekly perspective, we are putting back into the moving averages where we are at the moment. This is a great place, again, very similar to some of the other markets, to produce a nice bullish candle this week. And again, I would keep an eye on that 4 hour, as I would expect this to potentially show signs of turning around. So again, looking for signs of this turning around for Bitcoin to potentially start heading higher. So Bitcoin, for me, looking particularly interesting. Moving on to the global indices. So here we have the Dow, very strong bearish engulfing candle as a result of Friday's jobs data. So price pulling back into the moving averages. This week I'll be looking for a nice small bullish candle to form here and see if we do recover or if we continue to enjoy a deeper correction or a much bigger reset. We'll see if that's going to be the case. Certainly with the S&P, we could do with drop further, a little bit further down towards these highs, but the question is, will we then find support and finish with a nice bullish candle, which would tell us we've got a nice correction. One thing to keep in mind, of course, is that we are heading towards September, and historically Septembers tend to be the worst months, and these can often start in August. So we're now in August. Could we start to have a very big market correction, which will ultimately turn around towards the end of September, possibly in October? So that is really the question. So I'm exercising quite a bit of caution. First thing is, I do expect the markets to correct a little bit further, and then we'll see if they manage to hold at these levels of support, or if we're going to see if Friday's jobs results and subsequent jobs revision has unsettled the markets. We'll see if that's going to be the case, if it follows through on Monday. So same here with the Nasdaq. Again, I expect a deeper correction. Certainly no reason why this couldn't head back down to test these highs over here. Then the question is, can it hold and find support? So this week I do expect the indices to head a little bit lower. Let's finish off with the Hang Seng, one of my favorites in general. Looking for this to find some support this week. Really nice area for it to potentially do that. Yes, of course, these can head a little bit lower, but I'm going to deal with this 1 week at a time. Let's finish off with a couple of stocks. Let's have a look at this. Also, first of all, I should remind you, of course, here that I'm doing this on Sabiotrade's platform. They are I'm a partner with them, an affiliate partner. And of course, don't forget that you can access a discounted prop account with them, a nice prop account membership using the affiliate link, which is in this video's description. Don't forget, of course, that they are very keen on supporting traders with talent and providing you with scalable capital, amongst other things. So let's have a look at Tesla here. We continue to breach these lows. Tesla's looking a little bit weaker at the moment, especially if you start to break these lows. Then it becomes more and more likely that it will head down, back down towards these lows here, which is 210, possibly close to 200. Robinhood, just thought I'd have a look at this for fun. Had a really good run, definitely starting a nice correction here, certainly on a weekly time frame. I'm expecting this to head back down towards possibly even $80 level there. Nice correction here, but overall still looking relatively strong compared to some other companies out there. Alibaba, one of my favorites when it comes to looking at new Asian stocks as well. This is a monthly uptrend. It's pulled back into the moving averages, a level here of previous resistance, now finding possible support. And let me just move that a bit. There we go. Possible support, and the potential here if we break the high of July is to see this head higher. But for now, this is the area where it is trying to decide which way it's going to go. But the upside potential here over the coming months is still relatively feasible. And we'll finish off with Microsoft. It's had an incredibly good run, but you can see how the current weekly candle is starting to look a little bit exhausted. And so if we do break the low here, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a correction, possibly even again into these old highs over here, so we could see a bit of a move down. Ladies and gents, the week ahead is set to be interesting. What's going to happen with that dollar? What's also going to happen with some of the equity markets? We'll see. There's still plenty of strong stocks out there. The real question is the indices and how after jobs data on Friday, now that the markets have had a chance to think about it, how are they going to feel this coming week? So exercise some caution. Let's watch from the sidelines a little bit in some of those areas. There are also some markets that are looking particularly upbeat, possibly with Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Thank you very much. Have a good one.